Welcome to Bhagavad-Gita class, FM 95. All those who are listening on the radio. Tonight we're chapter 18, texts 12 and 13. That's on page 711, 711. I'm going to read 12, and there's no purport, and then we'll read 13 together. Text number 12. For one who's not renounced the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, occur after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such results to suffer or enjoy. A person in Krishna consciousness acting in knowledge of his relationship with Krishna is always liberated. Therefore, he does not have to enjoy or suffer the result of his acts after death. Text 13. Panchachani Mahabaho Karmani Nibadame Sankhye Krite Proktani Sidye Sarva Karmanam. Word for word. Pancha, 5. Etani, these. Mahabaho, the mighty armed one. Karani, causes. Nibada, misunderstand. Me, from me. Chankye, in the Vedanta, Vite Ante, in the conclusion, Proktani, said, Sidaye, for the perfection, Sarva, of all, Karmanam, activities. Almighty armed Arjuna, according to Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all actions. Now learn of these from me. Purport. A question may be raised that since any activity performed must have some reaction, how is it that the person in Krishna consciousness does not suffer or enjoy the reactions of work? The Lord is citing Vedanta philosophy to show how this is possible. He says that there are 5 causes for all activities, and for success in all activities, one should consider these 5 causes. Shankya means the stock of all leading acharyas. Even Shankaracharya accepts Vedanta Sutra as such. Therefore, such authorities should be consulted. The ultimate control is invested in the Supersoul, as stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvasya Shaham Vidishan Vidisto. He's engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him of his past actions. And Krishna consciousness acts done under his direction from within yield no reaction either in this life or in the life after death. Omaryan Tarandasya Janajana Sakaya Sakshu Tamjana Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobi Samstapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ramanam Prasanantam Panchakopachuryascha Kivisindhuvevacha Paranam Padnavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama. This sound microphone is okay? Everybody can hear clearly? You can hear clearly? Brahma Samhita, text number 54. Yastu Indragopam Avavendra Aho Sakama Bhanda Nurupam Balam Bhajanam Atanoti Karmani Nidanti Kintu Chat Bhakti Bhajan Govinda Varipusha Tamaha Bhajami. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruit of one's activities. Of all those who walk in the path of work, in accordance with the chain of their previous performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than that of Indra, king of the Devatas. From this Bhagavad-Gita, this is chapter 18, Direction of Renunciation. So verses 11 through 22 deal with austerity, sacrifice, charity, and the modes of material nature. Now, Bhagavad-Gita deals with 5 subject matters. One is karma, one is time, super soul, Indriya soul, material nature. 4 of these activities are permanent, but karma, or action and reaction, can be changed. Your karma can be changed. The other things cannot be changed. So, we recite this verse in the Bhagavatam every morning. Nasta prayashu abdeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama sloke bhakti bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance at the classes of the Bhagavatam and ending service to the pure devotee, all is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental, whose praise and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of God is praised with transcendental songs, establish the irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of material nature, passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, he becomes completely happy. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced. All misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive action is terminated when one sees the self as master. So, sees the self as master means the super soul. The Bhagavad-Gita, this section of Bhagavad-Gita is not so easy to understand. And the Bhagavad-Gita as a whole is not so easy to understand. But at the same time, persons who read the Bhagavad-Gita, people who touch the Bhagavad-Gita, people just see the Bhagavad-Gita, somehow they get benefited. One devotee was distributing books, and he said he wanted to give a man the book, and the man said, no, thank you. And then the devotee said, just touch it. So the man touched it, then he came back and bought the book. So the Bhagavad Gita is the word of the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna, Krishna Katha. There's the word of, there's two Bhagavats, the person Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat. And here the person Bhagavat, Sri Krishna is speaking to his friend Arjuna. So the previous verse said that whatever right, no, this is, it said that the for one who has not renounced threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, occur after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have shown such results to suffer or enjoy. So this is an analytical study of these, how to become detached, to help one learn how to become detached from the material world by having knowledge of the super soul. So due to karma, the fruits are there, desirable, undesirable, and mixed. It says that like two birds in a tree, one bird is active and the other bird is simply witnessing the activities. So that's the individual soul, the super soul. So according to one's activities, one, whether it be desirable, undesirable, or mixed, then one will get the result either in this life, and the next life. And it goes on, doesn't stop. It's a misconception in the material world. They have the misconception that your life at the time of death is finished and there's nothing after that. And some foolish people think that they can freeze the body. They're putting the body on ice, so in the future they'll come up with a cure for that disease that person had and bring them back to life. But that they did that with one person, the electricity went off, and so they couldn't bring him back to life. They didn't find the right chemicals on time. So it's not that the body, as soon as the soul leaves the body, rigor mortis sets in, and the body gives off a very horrible smell and doesn't last very long, deteriorates next to nothing. But that doesn't mean that the soul, we have the changing body exhibit upstairs in Prabhupada's museum, so people can see how the bodies are changing. I had a body when I was a baby, but I don't remember that body. But I'm still the same person. My mother, if you ask my mother, am I the same person? She'll say, yes, I'm the same person, but my body's not the same. So as the body's changing, what they think the body's growing, but it's changing at every moment. But it's still subtle. It says that the conditioned soul is receiving one body after another as the air carries the aroma. So when the air carries the aroma from the bathroom, it smells very bad. But when you get the aroma from a rose flower, it smells very good. So in this way, the soul is incurring sin, going from one body to the next, and reaping the results of his activities. And this is also unknown to modern science and the world today. People don't think they're responsible for their activities. But human life is a life of responsibility. And you have a responsibility to make sure, if you don't go back to Godhead in this life, that at least you're going to get a better body and perform devotional service again. The Bikramana Shosti, it says that there's no loss or diminution in the practice of Krishna consciousness. That you get a bank account, a bank balance. Until world, your bank balance carries you only up to the time of death. You can't take your money with you. Even if you're a Birla, a Rockefeller, or Tata, whoever, if you have crores of rupees, at the time of death, you can't take any of it with you. It won't save you or help you. So, but that doesn't mean that there's no activity. The soul is always active. At the time of death, the soul, when a person dies, if the body should be burned immediately, because the soul will hover over the body until the body is burned to ashes, so the soul gets a subtle body, a ghost body, at the time of death. But not in all cases. The situation is different for different individuals. But here we're talking about karta, means the doer, and the five causes of action. But the thing is that the question is raised, a person in Krishna consciousness, why he doesn't incur sin, why he doesn't have to suffer like everybody else. And because the karma, the activities of a Krishna conscious person, although they look the same as the activities of everybody else in the world, they're not the same. Bandhan Krishna Sambandhe Yuktavaraga Uchite Rangman Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach. So at the time of initiation, one gets the seed of devotional service, and the karma is taken by the Guru, accepts the karma of his disciple. So, as long as you're following strictly the orders of the spiritual master, chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulated principles, no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, then you will not incur new karma. But it may seem like we're suffering. So we suffer in so many ways, especially in old age. The body don't work right, the limbs don't work right, the eyes don't work right, the ears don't work right, nothing, the stomach doesn't work right. But this is because the body is a product of the 3 modes of material nature. But it's not due to our karma. It's due, like when the fan is turned off it continues to spin for some time. So even though we take initiation and Guru takes our karma, we still have some prarabdha karma from past life. Like Jad Bharat Maharaj went to the forest, was on the level of bhava. Practically speaking, he was exhibiting all the ecstatic symptoms of love of God. But he became attached to a deer, and at the time of death he was thinking of the deer, so he had to take the body of a deer. But that was not due to his prarabdha karma. There's two kinds of prarabdha karma, auspicious and inauspicious. For him it was the auspicious karma that he got the body of a deer, but he still remembered his Krishna consciousness, he still remembered his devotional practice. But it's not the case for most people. We don't remember our past lives. We had so many lives, 8,400,000 species. We've been going through 8,400,000 species, like the Ferris wheel. It goes around and around, up and down. So we may have been, at one time we're Lord Brahma, at one time we're a germ or an insect or a bird or a beast or a human being or a demigod. So it goes on, the cycle of repeated birth and death. But it's not, you never become inactive. And here it says the activities depend on the super soul, and the super soul is the friend of living entity in Krishna consciousness. Because the person in Krishna consciousness known as that his relationship, Sambandhan Gyan. He knows he's a devotee he knows that the super soul is in his heart. They asked Srila Prabhupada, can you talk to God? A reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, can you talk to God? And Prabhupada said yes. But the devotees were trying to give some mundane explanation. And Prabhupada stopped him and said, no, I talk to God. And Prabhupada said his Bhakti-Vedanta purports were dictated to him by super soul. So Srila Prabhupada was empowered to do what he did, translating and purporting so many books which an ordinary person could not do. He left India at the age of 70, and he traveled around the world 14 times in 12 years, which is very strenuous. But Prabhupada simply depended on Krishna, the super soul, and therefore he did so many amazing things in a very short time. And it may not be the case with the ordinary devotee, but one who's empowered by Krishna, Krishna's Shakti, Krishna Vina Shakti. Krishna empowers someone, he can do anything. So here it says that Prabhupada uses the word stalk, the final stalk of knowledge. Stalk means support. And this is accepted by all acharyas, acharyami brahman. So the support is the super soul. So the Krishna conscious person, he is under the will of the super soul. So he's not responsible for his activities in the sense that the super soul is the overseer and permitter, but allowing him to act in Krishna consciousness and to be able to preach and spread Krishna consciousness, which an ordinary person cannot do. And all our activities are depending on super soul. So here it's giving the cause. The Shankya philosophy was spoken by Lord Kapila Dev to Devahuti. And it says here that even Shankaracharya, the Mayavadi sannyasi, came to preach Mayavadi. Lord Shiva came as Shankaracharya to preach Mayavadi philosophy. But it says even Lord Shiva accepts the Vedanta Sutra as the authority. Narayano Parabhakta, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govindam, Uday Muha. So the task was given to Lord Shiva to take the post of Shankaracharya to preach Mayavadi philosophy, to bring people back to the Vedas and drive out Buddhism. So Buddhism is a form of Mayavadi philosophy, or Mayavadi philosophy is a form of Buddhism, but it's not the ultimate understanding of reality. It's the reality is Bhaja Govinda, which we worship Govinda, the Supreme Personality, Godhead. So there are two Kapila Devs. One Kapila Dev spoke Mayavadi philosophy. There's 6 different philosophies, and there's a Kapila Dev that spoke this Mayavadi philosophy. But that's not the Kapila Dev that spoke to Mother Devahuti in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is, and the Lord Kapila Dev says, the personality of God said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, according to the results of the works of his work, living entity, the soul, was made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy name, even if born in the families of dog-eaters. Such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifice, achieved all good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bathed at all holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So here it says, even born in a family of dog-eaters. We heard in one class that if a child born in the family of a doctor or a high court judge, when he grows up, he can't say, my father's a doctor, so I'm a doctor. He has to go to medical school and get the degree to become a qualified doctor. If someone's born in a family of a high court judge, he can't say, no, I'm a high court judge. He has to also be qualified. So this misconception is there, even in Vrindavan. Today, many of the temples, Goswami temples, they don't accept the fact that Srila Prabhupada went all over the world and made people from the Western culture into gurus and sannyasis. They say it's not bona fide. But there's so much evidence in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Bhagavat, which prove different. The Lord Chaitanya named Haridas Thakur the Namacharya, the holy name, even though he was born in a Muslim family. And Rupa and Sanatana Goswami had assumed them, who had been taking posts as in the Muslim government and had taken Muslim names, Muslim dress, and were ousted or kicked out of the Brahminical society. But because they got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, still they were able to take the Krishna consciousness and become fully qualified devotees. So it says, Chaturvarna Mahashishtam Guna Karma Vihagasha. It doesn't say Jama Karma. So wherever one is born, it doesn't matter, because anyone in the world. Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, and he wanted this holy name chanted in every town and village in the world. And Srila Prabhupada was able to do that, whereas godbrothers thought that couldn't understand how that could become a reality. And now we have temples in China and Mongolia and Tibet and so many places, Russia, and so many countries that we never even heard of, and the people are taking to Krishna consciousness. So it's not by birth that one becomes a qualified devotee. And so the karma incurred by the living entity does not depend on his birth. If you're born in a Sudra family, but you act like a Brahmin, then you become a Brahmin. But one's a Brahmin, but does not act like a Brahmin, he's like a person who owns a cow that doesn't give any milk. Or one may have all the qualities of a Brahmin, but if he's not a devotee, then he cannot save himself nor save anyone else. So the Guru, the Acharya, he may be born in a Brahmin family, but he must also be a Vaishnava or devotee. So we're preaching Vaishnavism. We're not preaching any ism. We're not preaching Hinduism or Christianity or anything else. They asked Srila Prabhupada why you came to America to introduce a new religion. We have so many religions already. And Prabhupada said, I have not come here to introduce a new religion. I've come here to teach people how to love God. And they asked Srila Prabhupada if he thought that Christianity had failed the people. And Prabhupada said, yes, I think so. So, because Christianity was no longer popular, no one was going to the churches anymore, so they closed their doors. But fortunately, we were able to purchase so many empty churches and turn them into beautiful temples all over the world. In this way, we got the benefit, because Kaitava Dharma, these so-called religions, are the cheating religions, and they don't satisfy anyone, and they don't bring anyone to the point of love of God or pure devotional service. So, not the simply sentimental religion without philosophy is simply sentimental, and philosophy without religion is simply speculation, or science without following the authority of the Vedas is simply speculating. Scientists are simply speculating. They write a textbook in the university, and after a couple of years they change it. They keep changing their understanding of the material world. They keep changing their understanding of how it all takes place. And in America, they said they went to the moon. And in 1969, Srila Prabhupada was in England, and they had a television. So they turned on the moon landing. So Prabhupada's servant was trying to massage Prabhupada and watch the moon landing at the same time. So he was botching it. He was doing it wrong, and Prabhupada had to keep correcting him. So finally, after the moon landing was over, they turned off the television, and Prabhupada said they never went to the moon. So this was startling to one person who was a servant at that time, left Krishna consciousness because he couldn't accept that Prabhupada knew better. But how can you go to the moon? The moon is 96 million miles away, and it's a heavenly planet. So if you want to go to the moon in this body, you can't go to any other planet unless you have the proper body. It's like if you want to go to any country, you have to have a visa, or you can't get in the country. So you have to have a visa to go to the moon. The moon's a heavenly planet. Says the sages there enjoyed Somaras for 10,000 years. And they brought back some rocks and said that it's a barren desert. And they have the moon rocks on display so people can go and see the moon rocks. But if the moon is, and Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that I become the moon and supply the juice of life for all vegetables. So how many vegetables can you grow in a barren desert? So even if they went to the moon, they landed in one place, they didn't see the whole moon. But they don't have the mechanical means to go to the moon because it's so far away, and there's so many flaws in their presentation of going to the moon that many people now, even most people, don't believe they went to the moon. So they spend so much money to go to the moon, but why don't they go there again? If they went to the moon, then they should go there again. They were selling land, people can go and live on the moon. But because they never went to the moon. So it was just a hoax, a nice production movie. They made a movie trying to show that they went to the moon. So in this way, their cheating propensity is there. The living entity has 4 defects: illusion, cheating, makes mistakes, imperfect senses. So they have imperfect senses, and they can produce so many things in their laboratories and their technology, but they are all imperfect. You may get the best cell phone, or you may get the best computer, but still you have to worry about it breaking down. There's no guarantee that it's going to be perfectly fine for eternity, because they are made by men with imperfect senses, so it's an imperfect machine. They can't make something perfect. So here, this is Shankya philosophy. It was given by Lord Kapila Dev, describing the movement of the living entity. Lord Chaitanya was talking to his mother in Chaitanya Bhagavat. He said, the living entity enters the womb of the mother, and after 7 months, he becomes conscious. And being in the womb is a very painful, suffering condition, packed up like half in a bag, and we couldn't live in that condition for 3 minutes. But somehow the living entity is in the womb for a certain amount of time, but after 7 months, the living entity becomes conscious. Not all living entities, but some do, and some will have the secreti, and they pray to the Lord that I will not have to go through this suffering again. But as soon as he comes out of the womb, he forgets. Here it says the super soul reminds one of his past. Savashachaham Ridi Shani bestow. So from the super soul comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So we forget that we were in the womb. We forget our past life because the super soul is there, and so we forget. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. They say the If I tell you that there's a country named China and you've never been there, you'll say, well, maybe China doesn't exist. But just because you've never been there doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So the soul is always there, and the soul is a super soul is accompanying the soul and through 8,400,000 species of life. But here it says there's 5 causes. One is the place. 5 causes of action. One is the place. So wherever you are, your activities are going on. Then there's the performer, or the jiva, the living entity. Then there's the senses, 5 senses: eye, ear, nose, mouth, tongue, sense of touch. It says living entity accepts one body after another, and then thus accepts another gross body. He gets the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and senses grouped about the mind, and thus he enjoys a particular type of sense enjoyment. So if you get a hog body, you give a hog halva or stool, he prefers to eat stool. But if you get a human body, you get your choice between stool and halva, you take the halva, because that's your senses want that, enjoy in that way. So every living entity has senses, and according to his body, he enjoys or suffers. The living entities, it says the living entity, Mamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, the living entity is the eternal fragmental part of the Supreme Lord, but due to the senses, which include the mind, his person is suffering in the material world. So the senses are there, then the endeavor, or the activities we perform, and then there's a super soul. So these are the 5 causes of action. So the endeavor is there. We have to make the endeavor. If you want to get a diploma from a university, you can't expect to get an honorary degree. They give honorary degrees to certain people who are famous for some reason or another. But you can't expect that. You can't sit in your house at home and expect to get an honorary degree. So there's Kripa Siddha, Sadhana Siddha, and Nitya Siddha. The Nitya Siddha living entities are eternally liberated souls which descend into the material world to assist the Lord in his pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Vaikuntha. But the Nitya Siddha living entities are eternally liberated souls. They come and go. They don't incur, they're not ordinary living entities. And then there's Kripa Siddha, which you get the mercy of a pure devotee. When Narada Muni was walking through the forest, he left the common path and was walking along, and he noticed that there were animals that were half killed. So there was one hunter there, his name was Magrari, and he was a very cruel, vicious man. So Narada Muni came and he said to Narada Muni, "You come, I can give you any gift you like. What kind of gift would you like?" But Narada Muni said, "I didn't come here for any gift, but I have one request from you. If you're going to kill animals, that's your business, but why are you only half killing them?" So he replied that, "Well, my father was doing that, and he taught me to do that too, so I get a lot of pleasure out of doing that." But then Narada Muni showed him all the animals that he half killed, and how they're going to have to come in his next life, how they're going to half kill him. Then he became a little thoughtful. And by the grace of Narada Muni, he surrendered to Narada Muni. Narada Muni told him to throw away your bow and arrows. And he said, well, how do I maintain myself? He said, don't worry about that. I will maintain you. You and your wife simply keep one cloth, go and sit down in this hut next to a river and chant Hare Krishna, worship Tulsi, and all your needs will be supplied. So he did that. So when Narada Muni came back to see the hunter was jumping up and down instead of paying obeisances. So Narada Muni said, well, why are you jumping up and down? He said, because there's ants on the road. I didn't want to step on them. So this is called Kripasiddha. So you can't expect that either. You can't expect that we're going to get the Kripa, or pure devotional service, automatically. We have to work and follow the schedule chalked out by the previous acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada gave us the morning program that he expected all of his devotees to follow. Mangalarti, Japa class, and this way we have to have, this is called sadhana. Sadhana bhakti is there, and we have to perform our sadhana until we become to raga bhakti, or pure spontaneous devotional service. But even when someone's performing spontaneous devotional service, he doesn't stop following the sadhana. He's just to set the example for ordinary devotees. So the Acharya means one who sets the example, shows by his personal example. One lady went to a yogi and said, can you tell my son not to eat sugar? So the yogi said, well, you come back next week. So she came back in a week, and the yogi told the boy, now don't eat sugar, it's bad for you. So the lady said, why'd you tell me to wait a week? Why couldn't you say that the first time? He said, because I had to stop eating sugar. So the Acharya is not a bluffer or a cheater. He doesn't tell us to do something that he doesn't do himself. So Prabhupada wanted all his disciples to chant 64 rounds in the beginning of the movement, but they couldn't do that. So then he said 32 rounds. They said, no, we can't do that either. So then he said 16 rounds, no less. So everyone in this movement must chant 16 rounds the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, but it says the holy name doesn't wait for initiation. When Lord Chaitanya went to Jagat Puri, the residents of Kaliyagram would ask him 3 times, 3 different occasions, who's a Vaishnava? He said a Vaishnava is someone who chants the holy name 1 time. But that doesn't mean, that has to be qualified. So Prabhupada wrote a wonderful purport to qualify that statement. That means someone who chants the holy name 1 time without offenses, purely Shuddhanam. If you're chanting the holy name, if you're chanting 16 rounds, 32 rounds, 64 rounds, but you're not experiencing ecstatic symptoms, if you're not no tears in the eyes, no trembling in the body, no hair standing on end, it means your chanting is offensive. So if you're chanting a namabhas, at least you'll feel some ecstatic symptoms. And the cause for the reason we're not feeling ecstatic symptoms is because we're chanting inattentively. We have to chant attentively and just hear the holy name, but it's difficult. And that's 10th offense, is to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on the subject matter. So if we're still thinking I, me, mine, that I'm this body and everything belongs to me, then you're not going to be able to chant the pure name. You're chanting on the semblance of the holy name. It's not the pure name. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. that there's no difference between Krishna and Krishna's holy name. When Lord Chaitanya invented 500 years ago, there was a lunar eclipse, and all the people in Nadia, Muslims, whoever they were standing in the Ganga, chanting the holy name. So the holy name invented first, and then Lord Chaitanya invented after 13 months in the womb. But so we are devotees of Krishna, and we're also devotees of the holy name. And the holy name is non-different than Krishna. So name, form, qualities, pastimes of Krishna are all identical with Krishna. So by performing Krishna conscious activities, we don't incur sin, and we continue whatever we do in this life will be carried with us to our next life. So we don't have to, the devotees don't have, are not subject to the laws of Yamaraj, especially in Vrindavan. If someone leaves his body in Vrindavan, he doesn't go to Yamaraj, but Krishna karma. Krishna decides what his next body will be. So if someone is sinful in Vrindavan, it's not okay. If someone went to Gurukul in Vrindavan and thinks he can live in Vrindavan and do all nonsense, it's not okay. Because Krishna karma is there, and Krishna will decide what his next life will be. So if one is having illicit sex in the holy dham, then the next life will be an animal birth, a monkey or a hog or dog, which can have more sex life than human beings. And then that's a short life, and they are absolved of all their sins, because animals don't commit sins. When monkeys steal your glasses in Lori Bazaar, they don't get arrested by the police and have to go to jail, because they're not incurring any sin. They don't know right from wrong. But the human being, we know right from wrong. So if the sign says do not walk on the grass, we know we shouldn't walk on the grass, but the dog doesn't know any difference. The monkey doesn't know any difference. So this is the difference between the Krishna conscious person. By acting with our intelligence, we have to understand Sambandhan Gyan, Abhideya and Parojana. The Sambandhan Gyan is represented by Madan Mohan, the Abhideya is represented by Govindaji, and Parojana is represented by Gopinath. These three temples that are here in Vrindavan are the 7 major temples, Goswami temples. So Sambandhan Gyan means establishing our relationship with Krishna, and Abhideya means learning how to serve Krishna, and Parojana means attaining complete perfection, Prema Paramartha Mohan. This is complete perfection, which means we're developing our love for Krishna. And we're reading about Maharaj Ambarish, and we're reading about Devasa Muni. And Maharaj Ambarish was a pure devotee, and Devasa Muni was not a devotee. So Devasa Muni wanted to kill Maharaj Ambarish for drinking a glass of water. So he pulled a hair out of his head, and it produced a fiery demon to kill Maharaj Ambarish. But Maharaj Ambarish was given the Sudarshan chakra and to protect him. So that chakra started chasing Devasa Muni all over the world. He went all over the world to get someone to help him, but no one could do anything. Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, no one could save him. He even went to Vaikuntha, or he went to the abode of Lord Vishnu and asked for help. But Lord Vishnu said, no, I can't help you. You've offended my devotee. You have to go and beg for his forgiveness. In this way, even Devasa Muni, he got to the audience of the Lord. Instead of asking to get out of the material world, he asked to get free from the burning of the Sudarshan chakra. The same way, we heard last night about prisoners in jail, and the king came and said, what's the problem here? And the prisoners all said there's so many problems. Well, one man was silent. He didn't say anything. So he asked the man, what's your problem? He said, well, I only have one problem. I want to get out of here. So the king said, okay, you release this man. Everybody else has to do twice as much work. If you don't work, we're going to beat you. So in this way, we should not want to remain in the material world, Dukaya Lama Shasatam, space of misery and suffering, of repeated birth and death. We should try to make a solution to this problem of suffering and go back home, go back to Godhead in this life. And that can be done by dedicating our life in full surrender. Saradharma Prishata, Mamekam Saranamada, Hantam Sarapabnigyo, Mokshashami Mahasuchaha. This is the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita. Purpose of Bhagavad-Gita is to bring one to full surrender to Krishna and give up all dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all kinds of religiosity, which will not help one at the time of death or take one out of the material world. So in this way, Vedanta, according to Vedanta, we're talking about the Vedanta given by Vyasadeva and the Vedas. Vedas means book of knowledge or end of all knowledge. So everything is contained in the Vedas, and especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a spotless Purana. Therefore, everyone should mold their lives, live a Krishna conscious life, and not waste their time. Whatever time we have, we should try to utilize around 24 hours a day, hearing about the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord as much as possible. When there's free time, should read all of Prabhupada's books. Everyone should read all of Prabhupada's books, purports, everything. Said if you don't read all my books, you'll become lazy. So we don't want any lazy, crazy fellows in our ashram. So Prabhupada printed the books. The book distributors were going out selling Prabhupada's books. They'd give a man a book, and the man would say, well, what's in this book? And they say, well, we don't know what's in this book. We're just distributing them. So Prabhupada wrote the books, not just for us to distribute, but for us to read. So we should also know what's in the books that we're distributing. In this way, the person will be benefited, because out of compassion, like Vasudeva asked Lord Chaitanya to, if he could take the karma of all the living entities so they can go back to Godhead, all living entities in the universe. But Lord Chaitanya replied that was not a very difficult task. I could do that. But so his compassion for living entities was unlimited. More so, perhaps in comparison to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ also has compassionate, but only to his followers, disciples. But this person wanted to take the karma of all living entities so they can go back to Godhead. So by distributing books, if we have this compassion and this understanding that we're helping people by giving them the book, and it's not some mechanical process. Selling books, preaching Krishna consciousness, it's not a mechanical thing. We have to develop the mood, like Vaisheshika Prabhu and other, of our leaders in this movement. They have this mood of compassion to spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said, anyone who's following strictly my instructions and making plans for spreading Krishna consciousness, he's the topmost devotee. So in this way, we should understand all these things and carefully read the Bhagavad-Gita, ABCs, spiritual life, carefully read Prabhupada's books, and keep ourselves free from the influence of the material world and stay in Krishna consciousness, because we know that there's no better alternative. Every living entity has free will, So the free will, we can choose whether I want to serve Krishna. If you want to, there's Durga Devi. Durga means fort, and she has imprisoned everyone in the material world. So if you want to disturb Krishna, Durga Devi will allow you, will keep you bound up in the material world. But if you want to serve Krishna, then Durga Devi, she will help you to get free from the bondage of repeated birth and death, to get out of the material world. So it's always our choice, but we should always remember that the super soul is there in every living entity, and the super soul in Antaryami, Brahman, the super soul, as giving us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And this is being explained here. It's about the super soul and the Krishna conscious philosophy. So we'll stop there anytime. Any comments, questions? Question, man.
Prabhu, you said was son to me is not a devotee. So he is not a devotee. How he went to the other planets and went to Lord? Can you explain something?
Muni, he had the mystic power by his mystic city. Mystic power. Of course, it's somehow it was arranged. By the Lord's arrangement, he was able to do that. Take the microphone.
Hare Krishna. The last line of the purport says, and Krishna conscious.
What?
The last line of the purport says, and Krishna conscious acts done under his direction from within yield no reaction, either in this life or in the life after death. So, how exactly do we expect super soul to give direction from within? How exactly, what does Prabhupada exactly mean here? That Krishna conscious acts done under his direction from within. Means he's speaking directly of Krishna.
Yeah, because it's in your heart. It means within your heart, super soul is there. It's self-explanatory. But how it's working, we don't know, because we're still under the influence of three modes of material nature. We haven't come to Paramatma realization. Jnanis, yogis, when you come to Paramatma realization, and you understand how the super soul is working. But from a conditioned state, as long as we're in the mode of passion and ignorance, we can't understand this.
But still we are surrendered souls.
Speak in the microphone.
But still in one sense we are surrendered souls. So if in one sense at least we are surrendered to Krishna, because we have come to Krishna, we are practicing the bhakti process. So in one sense we are surrendered. So I can expect that super soul will guide me correctly from within.
Yes. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.